I'm Valerie Milano, senior editor of the Hollywood Times. I'm here in Phoenix right now, but I'm usually in Los Angeles. And I'm going to have our guest introduce himself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Acosta, and I'm the writer, director, producer, as well as many other things of the film The Pickup.
Great, great. And I'm one of the lucky ones that's gotten to see this short film. And it's about when a bumbling Uber driver unwittingly picks up a government spy who needs to deliver a top secret package. And he finds himself in the driver's seat of a high stakes game of cat and mouse with deadly assailants hot on their trail. The unlikely duo must navigate the city streets in a wild car chase involving bullets, crashes, and explosions at every turn in this hilarious action comedy adventure made for a budget of $6,000. I mean, this might be the wildest and funniest 7 minutes and 51 seconds on film. It makes you think twice about your next Uber ride, doesn't it? I mean, have you had this kind of Uber ride? And where did you come up with the concept of the pickup?
Well, I've never been in that type of Uber ride. I've had my fair share of weird Uber drives. The only thing, the craziest thing I've ever had that involves an Uber, it technically didn't involve an Uber at all. It was a lady. I was in my Civic, just driving somewhere, and this lady just randomly went up to my car and opened the door, asking, and about to get inside, asking like, "Are you for Cynthia or something like that?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I am not an Uber." And like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and just closed the door. She thought I was her Uber, yeah, because I have a Honda Civic. Apparently,
Okay,
those
sure.
are the Uber cars, that and Priuses. But as to how I came up with it, well, first off, this was made basically, as you said, for like $6,000, and it was basically out of necessity. It was during the pandemic. My wife and I were unemployed. I had been let go from my job after only like 6 months of working there, and we were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, so we weren't even married yet. And I'd only felt comfortable moving in with each other because I had that job. And I was like, oh my God, I don't think I could do it. But thankfully we were okay. But after some time, we were just making a bunch of projects. We entered some contests online, some like stay at home challenge kind of stuff. We won some, we lost some, but it got to a point where like, let's do something cool. No one's on the roads. And I've been wanting to do this car chase concept. I've been wanting to do a car chase movie for a while. And I was trying to think like, okay, let's do this. And I was writing it up and I was trying to write up the idea. And I thought about, okay, well, what's a cool concept? And I thought comedy was a better approach because these effects were going to be so crazy and so kind of new for us and kind of an experiment that I figured if I make it a comedy and the effects don't work well, then I can embrace and say, oh, that was the intention.
Yeah.
I had something to fall back on and be like, well, it was meant to look stupid. But thankfully the effects look great and it makes actually the comedy even better, I feel. Um, and so I wrote it originally as like, I think it was my first idea was what if I had Jason Statham's The Transporter working as an Uber driver because of the pandemic because he was unemployed. And I thought that was kind of funny and everything, but I couldn't get the jokes to have him be the super spy and then the passenger be the straight man being like, what's going on? So I decided, what if I flipped it? And then that's when the jokes came out more fluidly. It started getting funnier. And I realized, oh, okay, this is what I can do with it. And I had like certain visuals and plan that I wanted to do. So I was trying to like make those work as well. Because I knew that I had to work within our budget. So I wrote things that I knew that I can roughly pull off. And yeah, we just started shooting it like in 2021 and like mid 2021 and just as people were starting to get vaccinated and just yeah worked on it for close to like 12 shooting days over the course of 9 months.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some research. So 12 days filming on the streets of LA. I believe it's three cars, a motorcycle, and a tow truck demolished, and a budget of $6,000. You're
Yeah.
not a producer director, you're a magician. I mean, surely that didn't include the stunt vehicles, did it?
I'll tell you this. No actual cars were damaged in the making of this film. No cars got near each other or got destroyed or in any way. What you're seeing in those movies movies are toy cars that are getting destroyed.
Yeah, that's movie magic. You caught a huge break being able to film on LA's deserted streets during COVID. How did you manage the logistics for the shoot?
Well, they weren't completely deserted. There was always drivers whenever a lot, but there was less than we noticed around town around that time. Also, shooting in like downtown LA's like artist district, you kind of get like less people sometimes, especially certain areas. But by having less people on the road, it did make it easier. But what we had to do though is still wait for like traffic. So we bought we bought like a bunch of like good handful of walkie talkies, just simple ones, where we would just like have the crew all the way down watching roads on certain roads and being like, all right, are we clear? Any cars coming? Any side streets coming? We'd make sure that no one came because we would just be driving. But we always made sure also another thing that we followed the rules of the road. We rarely ever, if not at all, sped past the speed limit. I think the fastest, like if the speed limit was just say 25, I think the fastest we went was 30. So we did a lot of camera trickery to make us look like we were going faster than we were. I mean, if you were to compare this to like something like Fast and the Furious, we're going pretty slow. Like you can see, like, oh, they're going pretty slow, but that's what the editing and the sound design kind of intensified a little bit. But it's yeah, well, it was basically we just kind of waited. We just followed the rules, waited when there was like a clear moment, which is the thing that took us most of the time, usually. And we actually were lucky in some parts, sometimes where we got like a couple times we actually had some police officers, LAPD, kind of help us out, which was weird. No permits. We had no permits shooting this stuff. There was a situation, one where a cop was driving by. And usually in LA, if anyone knows what it's like to shoot in LA, it's basically you see a cop, even if you have one camera and two people, they can be just like, where's your permit sometimes?
Sure.
Especially if you have a tripod. You got a tripod, like, what are you doing? And we were just getting a VFX plate. And I thought, like, oh man, he's gonna try to shut us down. We're gonna have to go somewhere else. And he's just like, no, I'm just curious what you're doing. And I was like, oh, just shooting a student film, as we would say, because I still look young.
Yeah.
And he said, cool, can I watch? It's like, sure. And we shoot the sequence. And the motorcyclist who plays the scene went up to him. He's like, oh, it'd be cool if you guys could drive by because we're supposed to have a sequence where my motorcycle is supposed to hit a cop car and it crashes and they're gonna do a visual effects. And then he goes, yeah, we could do that. And I'm like, go center the camera, go center the camera. And he just drove by for us. And then he parked his car and we just shot some shots of it. And then they left and we were like, okay, let me just get a shot of you leaving. Like nothing. It was really cool. And then another day where they were supposed to block up, these cops were supposed to block off a place for a party that was going to be going on in the area, like a concert, I don't know, around there. And what we did, they saw us and were like, hey, just let you know, there's going to be a thing right here. And we're going to have to block up the roads. How long are you going to shoot? You're okay here. And it's like, oh, and it was a park sequence where we're just parking the dialogue sequence. And they said, it starts at 12 and we're like, oh, we'll be done here by then. Because we had got there at 7 a.m. We'll be done in like the next few hours. Sure. Okay, cool. Anyways, he leaves and said, be careful. It's kind of dangerous around here. And it could be in LA. We were in a place that could be a little dangerous, but we were fine. And then we eventually realized after he left, like no cars have gone by for a while. Okay. We wrapped up, we finished. We're about to drive off to our next location and we see, hey, there's a cop car blocking this street. Well, let's go around. And we go this way. And there's a cop car blocking this street. We're sorry. Hey, can we get by? And he says, oh, you guys are done? Done what? And he said, and this is a different cop. This was a different cop. He said, our commanding officer or whatever said to like, come early for blocking off the street because you guys were shooting something. So we got like free a blocked off road by the LAPD because this guy was really awesome. And yeah, so we're very appreciative and we're very blessed for this movie. A lot of things fell into place for this movie.
So lucky, so lucky. The film is action-packed, but the comedy rises to a level above the crashes and gun battle. I mean, from Joe, hey, I'm Joe. I'm going to be your Uber driver, to the running dialogue between the agent and headquarters. Who in the hell ordered an Uber? I mean, the funny keeps coming, and this is Joe's first Uber ride. Adam MacArthur plays the funny, just keeps coming. funny, right to the hilt against, Xenia LeBlanc's dead serious spy character.
My wife,
And
right?
I
That's
know
right.
it's your wife. Yeah, and I'm going to say something in just a second. And the car chase action is a solid third character.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write the script for this gem?
Excuse me. It took it took a bit. It took like maybe a month, but not. I wouldn't say that completely because I was just like around that because I was really trying to get it to be good, and I was just kind of stuck. Like I said, the first version was like the Jason Statham's transporter being the driver, and then all that, the passenger being the normal person, and I couldn't find the comedy from it. And for me, I what I find funny is just like I love the idea of mixing the fantastic with the mundane, and that's what this movie is like mixing the fantastic idea with a mundane simple idea, Uber driver. And that's where I find comedy comes out better, as well as just like any type of adventure action kind of thing or fantasy things. So like for this, I was really struggling with like where with the perspective. And then when I found out that it was going to be the Uber driver is going to be the normal, we name him Joe because he's an average Joe. We realized like, that's where it's coming from. So then after that, I just started finessing it and kind of getting there. So actually, if you would say like maybe 2-3 weeks, but it felt like it took over a month in many ways. And then of course when I finished and we were about getting ready for pre-production and getting up all the like shots that we needed to get to like prep, uh we started my actors came and like Adam came over to our place with Steny and I, and we just kind of like they kind of talked about new things, like the sequence at the end where he's like, hey, you forgot this. That was something that Adam had come up with. And I thought like, oh, that's hilarious. I got to put that in. So there was just all these little things that it was constantly being like worked over. Even Delta's line in the command center at the very end, right? The last scene, his line was just like on the day in the scene, we're just like, say this, and it just came out funny. So we were always kind of working and tweaking it. But if you were to say like maybe like actually sitting down anywhere to 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month.
Wow, that's pretty fast. So yeah, speaking of your wife, speaking of Xenia, I interviewed her for her film at Dances with Films for the
I
Exposed. Yeah, I wanted her on here today, but I had a funny feeling that because this is your film, maybe that's why she didn't want to be on this interview. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, so her characterization of the agent is spot on, and the interaction with Adam's character, Joe the driver, is what makes this film sing. And aside from her wonderful acting, she was in on just about every aspect of making this film, from
Yes.
co-producing, right, and directing the second unit to driving a stunt car. From my
Oh yeah.
research, how much fun was it to work with her on this amazing film?
Fantastic for one thing. I've been working with her for a long time. That's how we kind of got to know it. We met each other at a film festival.
Oh,
Um, she, it was at a mixer at a bar, which I don't drink, so I was kind of
oh,
like just looking around for like someone, and she like pulled me in, just saying, "Hey, I saw your film. I love your film," and we just kind of connected. And then over the years, we just I called her on board for another project, like, hey, would you like to work on this and be in it and everything? And we just kind of kept working with each other, which then eventually grew into a relationship. We love creating together, especially during the pandemic. That was a great time to kind of really just, everyone had to take a moment to kind of just like, all right, sit. I always say the pandemic was like if you had a relationship during that time, it was like 2 years of a relationship in one. If you, we had just moved in with each other. December of 2019, we moved in with each other. So this was like, it could have been bad,
yeah.
but uh, it thankfully worked. Because of for those listening about like wondering about relationships, communication is key. So by communicating and just like collaborating and helping her on her film, and also never overbearing each other, like suggesting and giving like, hey, well, here's a thought, and if they say no, it's like, all right, it's your film. So for this, it was like a lot of that. And during that time, I kind of needed I felt a little lost myself, as I'm sure a lot of us did. And it was really cool to have her by my side to kind of inspire me when I had a moment being like, this is just too much. I don't know where to start. She's like, all right. She got a piece of paper, sat with me, and just like, what do we need? Okay, we need this, and just helped organize. So she was really good at helping me produce this. Uh, and then just like an ally. She's not just my wife. She's like definitely, an ally to helping me make my vision come true, as I'm always there for hers. On The Exposed, I helped her with her film
Yes.
on some days, even though I was technically at work most of the time. So I had very little to do on that, but I helped prep in any way that she could,
Yes.
and organize, as well as help finance, with food and everything. But for me, I love our way of just collaborating and always wanting just to help expand each other's work. Like, hey, by doing this, it's going to be better. And she was just there for me. She was my biggest cheerleader. She was my biggest, muse and inspiration. And it's always just fun to kind of just like have someone who's like sees the same thing as you, in the sense of like wanting to achieve something. Because of in our relationship, I always tell her successes are my successes and my successes are her successes. So
That's beautiful.
so
That's so
like that was
beautiful.
really interesting. Even though sometimes we can get a little, like, this is a better idea. It's a very, as every relationship is, it turned out really great. And yeah, I'm so excited. And plus her performance, by the way, it's like
Yep.
she's originally from Russia, so she just took that very direct Russian attitude towards the
Love it.
character.
Works. Well, not to be outdone by your spouse, you wrote the script, as we said, directed, co produced it. You were the editor, cinematographer, and camera operator for this shoot, as well as handling special and visual effects with her. And the
Yeah.
cast doubled as crew to boot. Is this how you were able to film this short with such high production values for about 6 grand?
Yeah, I mean, when we started, again, we were still unemployed. We started like the first weekend of, like, it was like we started in April, at like mid-April of 2021. And then we were like, okay, we're gonna shoot this over 2 months, maybe 3 months. And then I get a call the week after we started shooting, from my boss from my job, saying, hey, can you come back? And I was like, yes. So then it was like, guys, we're gonna have to reschedule this thing. But it was good because I was able to put funding into the film now. Which we had some money, but we were like kind of like we're gonna have to like simple it. But now it's like, cool, I can pay people. We made a thing to make sure that we at least paid people, especially during that
Mhm.
time. At least, so we made sure that everyone was fed and at least paid gas money. That was the minimum. And if they kind of brought something like production wise, like equipment, we'd like, hey, what is it? And I'm a big believer in your rate is your rate. If I could afford it, of course I'll pay. But if I can't, I'm like, then I can't use you, and I'm sorry. If that's your rate, I understand and I respect that, and thank you for your time. But we the same people who were helping shoot the movie were the same people who attended our wedding, because
Oh, that's
the
great.
reason being is because, like, again, because of the pandemic and because of certain things going on in the world, a lot of her family weren't able to attend. A lot of like financial reasons, we couldn't like make the wedding bigger and everything. But we decided, like, okay, let's keep it small. But then it's like, who do we invite? So we decided, like, for financial reasons, we got to keep it minimal. We invited people who've always been there for us, particularly for our films, like when it came to our friends. And it was like these people who are just like, yeah, I'm not doing anything this weekend. Sure, I'll help you shoot your movie. And they would do it for free if they could and if they were available. And so a lot of them were just like, yeah, I'm down. And they again, after the pandemic, everyone kind of just wanted, like, I want to shoot something. I want to be out there. I want to do something and not be indoors all day. So we were like
Sure.
calling my friends to be like, hey, I want you to play this role. But then it's like, hey, can you help me like rig the camera and everything? And it was just a big hangout. And it was especially during that time as people were getting finally vaccinated. So we were able to kind of come together again. At first we were like wearing masks again because it took 12 shooting days over the course of 9 months. We started wearing masks, and by the middle of it, we were just back to like, hey, and hugging, because
I know exactly.
everyone in the group had been vaccinated by the end of it, and we were like, or towards the middle of it, and so we were just like just shooting again, and it just felt like good to kind of like, especially after what happened, this was the first project that we literally all came back together as as a film community.
Mhm.
Um, And so I think everyone kind of had that edge of like, I want to be part of something. And I have a lot of friends who believe in my work, like who like working with me, and I love working with. So it's like we made sure we called those friends first, and then everyone else was just kind of people who like kind of came in being like, hey, this seems cool, or you know, called special favors, being like, hey, can you be part of this? Um, but yeah, it was basically just a lot of creative problem solving and just friends. I always say this when people ask, how did you make this? I just say, pure will,
Yeah,
pure will.
I get it. We're winding down, but one other subject, the music really adds to the story with its upbeat intensity. Can you talk about how you came up with your soundtrack?
um, well, Music Bed was very helpful for this. Music Bed, my wife was using it as a subscription. I'm using it now more often because I actually do. I use it a lot lately because I have these. For those interested, I teach everyone how to do this. A lot of this visual effects that we did in the movie on my Instagram, which is at unrendered media, as well as YouTube at unrendered media as well. Um, and there I teach a lot of people how to do visual effects on a budget, like big budget kind of things on a budget. But I use MusicBed licensing kind of stuff, their subscription service. And I remember just like for a while, I was like just browsing their subscription or their menu of playlists, and I was just trying to find something that was just very kind of like epic. I was trying to go very Michael Bay, so I just kind of just kept looking for songs that kind of like had that inspiration. And for one thing, I have a very eclectic kind of view, like of music. My day job is working at the CW as a consulting as a writer, producer, editor in their promo departments. So I cut trailers for a living, basically. uh, and so I have to be really good and adept with different types of music and tone. Like I do things for like All American, which needs a very hip hop kind of vibe. But then there's like there are other shows that are more like action or comedy ventured. So it's like that's got to be a different thing. So I just kind of felt what was feeling right. But it's actually the music is kind of like it's not just one song. It's actually a bunch of songs kind of just threaded together,
Oh,
sometimes re-edited, retimed by myself. It's with some sound design, which again I had to do myself. So again I was mainly the main post-production guy. We just recently got someone who's going to be doing a 5.1 mix for us. But like that'll be the first time we'll actually have someone outside of the project working on sound on this. Sorry, outside of myself
yeah.
working on sound. But yeah, I just kind of pick music that I feel like feels right, and also the kind of music that I like, which thankfully is very open to other people's tastes as well.
Great. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, Nicholas, and hopefully we will meet in person with your wife as well. And so, how can our readers and our viewers find the film, find out more about it? Website, social media. Let us know.
Well, the film premieres tomorrow at the
Yes, it
at the
does.
Dance with Films Film Festival at the at which is Tuesday, June 25th at 5 p.m. But I'm not sure when this is going to air, but it'll eventually be shown. We're going to put in other festivals, but eventually we plan to release it online. You can find out more about it by going to its main page, which is at the Pickup Movie. So at the Pickup Movie. You can also go to my YouTube and my personal Instagram, which is both unrendered media, all one word. And yeah, there I share like behind the scenes kind of things about making it. Same thing with the Pickup Movie one. There you can also find out when and where it'll be in the future because I release trailers and announcements for all the time. But yeah, it's right there, and you can see it
Oh,
again
there's a QR code.
at
Okay.
the pick
Perfect.
movie. The QR codes for the ticket. So again, before they see it, there it is.
Yeah.
There's the poster. And yeah, so at the pickup movie and at Unrendered Media, both YouTube and Instagram for Unrendered Media.
Wonderful, because this article will be out today
Nice.
with this review, with this yeah, and our YouTube is the Hollywood Times official, and our website is hollywoodtimes.net. And our Instagram is Hollywood.times. So Nicholas, thank you so much for your time today, and say hi to your wife for me.
Will do.
And
Thanks for having me.
hopefully we'll see you down. I know y'all live really close to the Chinese theater,
Very
so
close.
hopefully we'll see you there. Okay,
Yes, will do.
great. Thanks again for your time and all this creativity, because you got my juices flowing and my laughter going. So great.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
For me, it's all about having entertainment. I'm always entertainer first, artist second.
there you go. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye.